Students and staff celebrate a new holiday that honors a hugely important moment in Texas history. We have team coverage.
One big change is definitely on the way for student loans, but there might be an even bigger change soon. Plus,
sometimes the loneliness is there in the isolation, especially if oh, hey, you want to go hang out with your friends, but everybody's doing something on their own, and so you're just kind of in your apartment.
I'll share some mental health strategies to fight loneliness.
And I'm Jacob Van Sant, live in the Weather Center. Just how hot did San Marcos get this week? I'll show you in a bit.
hi, welcome to Bobcat Bulletin. I'm Becca Cade.
And I'm Katie Mackey. The nation's newest holiday is Juneteenth. It honors the day in 1865 when Texas slaves finally learned about Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation 2.5 years later.
This is the first year Texas State has recognized the holiday. We have two stories. I got to take a look at the university's celebration.
And reporter Antoine Payne introduces us to some students with strong feelings about Juneteenth.
A vibrant celebration for Juneteenth recently took place at Sewell Park. This event, organized by Texas State University, provided an opportunity for students to come together and commemorate this significant day in American history. I had the privilege of speaking to Jesse Silva, the Director of Student Connections and Belonging, who played a pivotal role in making this event possible.
I want to be able to recognize Juneteenth is one of those new events because it just became a federal holiday in 2021. And so this is our first iteration here at Texas State and create a new tradition that our students can take advantage. Given the fact that there's no classes, it was a rich opportunity to bring our students out and just to have fun. We wanted to do a couple of things. We wanted to make sure to work with one of our DJs was DJ Arrow. He's also a student at Texas State, but he's also a really awesome DJ who does a lot of events on campus, so we knew he'd create some vibes. A lot of that was how do we engage our students around community, unity, but then also ensuring that we have an opportunity to raise awareness about this important.
The significance of Juneteenth often goes overlooked, and many people are unaware of its historical context. Dwana Goldstone, the director of the African American Studies program, explained the history of Juneteenth to us.
Because 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, General Granger was sent to Texas to tell the enslaved people that they were free. So it was a big celebration. The people were joyous, and from there it became Juneteenth. It's 158 years later, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Before we conclude, our fellow reporters Antoine and Jacob had the opportunity to speak with attendees at the Juneteenth celebration to capture their thoughts on what this day meant to them personally.
Thanks, Becca. Since becoming an official federal holiday in 2021, there's been much debate about celebrating this day. We asked Texas State students about their personal feelings for Juneteenth.
We still stood up for our country. We still was there for our country while we fought for the freedom of all people as well as getting our own freedom. So for me, it's like a lot because without that sacrifice of my people, I wouldn't be here today being able to celebrate today.
For most students we talk to, Juneteenth allows them to reflect on the history of African Americans and show appreciation to those who have fought for a better future.
Well, Juneteenth means it's a great holiday. I think it's very meaningful. You know, I think we don't have a lot of holidays that really mean something as much as Juneteenth does. I think it's a really big day for our history as Black people, and it's just a signal that we've come such a long way.
This was the first year Texas State held a Juneteenth celebration. The school looks forward to many more events in the future. Special thanks to my videographer, Jacob Van Zant. For Bobcat Bulletin, I'm Antoine Payne.
Student loans haven't been running up interest, and payments have been paused for a couple of years because of the COVID pandemic, but that's about to change.
As reporter Ray Yates shows us, that might not even be the biggest change.
The student loan burden has been on pause since the pandemic, but it's time for that to resume. Loans have not been piling up interest, but starting September 1st, they will, while payments will start in October.
Don't take on more debt than you can afford. Look at how much you're borrowing, and don't hand over that decision to an 18-year-old parent.
President Biden's student loan forgiveness plan might also be over before it starts. The Supreme Court is considering a case that is challenging the Biden forgiveness plan, and we could have an answer on that as soon as this week. The court could rule that only Congress can forgive loans, that President Biden can't do it alone. While we wait, it's best to prepare. New college graduates and current students should reach out to the Department of Education. They can help with guidance on what to expect and best practices to start paying in October.
It's time for you to reach out to a servicer and ask the questions that you need to ask. How will this impact me? What are the changes that will take place from what previously took place? Or I am a new graduate. What do I need to know about my account? How can I make sure that I do not go into default?
I'm Ray Yates with Bobcat Bulletin.
115 employees at a local business had to leave work Monday because of an ammonia leak. The New Braunfels Fire Department reported that there was a small leak inside the New Braunfels smokehouse. Nobody was hurt, but firefighters declared a hazmat scene. An air quality team, including representatives from Texas and the U.S. EPA, gave the all-clear early Tuesday to reopen the business.
A brand new sober living apartment complex opened in San Marcos Tuesday, June 20th. The health facility is the first of its kind in the area. People who have at least 1 year sobriety can live in the complex called The Vibe. It's a few blocks west of Texas State. It was founded by a recovering addict who is now 7 years sober. She describes the facility as a tranquil space worthy of healing. Hey Katie, do you have roommates or do you live alone?
I do have roommates, which I like, but the transition from living with roommates to living alone can be pretty hard for some students. I spoke with 2 of them about how it affected their mental health. Recent Texas State graduate Nick Barecki shared his experience on living alone for the first time.
It's quite lonely at first because I didn't have a social group on campus really, and since everything transitioned to online, it was really isolating.
Evie Carroll talked about her anxieties when first moving in and the nerves she had.
Like any normal single college girl in a town by herself, there's always the fear of stalkers, there's always the fear of break-ins.
It wasn't stressful or I have to take on more responsibilities. It was a lot of fun to just be like, okay, I have to take care of my place. It's like its own little living, breathing entity. I need to make sure it's kept up in good condition. So,
according to the United States Census Bureau, young adults who live alone are more likely to report symptoms of anxiety and depression.
Sometimes the loneliness is there in the isolation, especially if oh, hey, you want to go hang out with your friends, but everybody's doing something on their own. And so you're just kind of in your apartment.
Coping mechanisms. Sometimes I just tried to live inside my own head, which wasn't really a good idea because mental health started to plummet during that point. But I started doing stuff like meditation, and that really helped try and calm myself down, or just try and distract myself, either just watching YouTube videos, watching movies, TV shows, or just playing video games. It really tried to help distance myself from that aspect of just being lonely, and instead focusing on something else that could make me happy.
However, the National Institutes of Health says that young adults living alone also tend to have improved independence, self-respect, and self-confidence.
I think one of the big ones was actually the internet, being able to go on Discord and play video games with my friends later into the days or evenings, just when they're available, making phone calls, doing FaceTimes. I FaceTime my mom a lot while I'm cooking.
Living alone can be really daunting sometimes, but it's also a great opportunity for growth. I'm Katie Mackey, back to Bobcat Bulletin.
If you're ever struggling with mental health issues, there's a simple number you can call for help. It's 988. It launched last summer and replaced the suicide prevention hotline. Calling 988 will connect you to a network of more than 200 crisis centers, which have been around for almost 20 years. There are even options to get help if you're a military veteran or need a Spanish speaker. Ty Evans joins us with sports in a minute,
including a story about a big win by the U.S. men's soccer team.
To the edge of the 6, and it's Chris Richards with the opener!
We'll show you what that means.
And you probably got heat alert warnings on your phones this week. We'll show you what it was like out there.
First, they said cigarettes were safe. Now, they say they didn't market e-cigarettes to teens. Fact. More than 1 in 4 high school students are vaping. Same lies, different day. Tell Big Vape to quit lying.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie, nailed it. We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's put a ride home.
It's actually a pretty busy week in sports.
It is, and Ty Evans is joining us with a story about a pretty big deal.
Thanks, guys. The U.S. men's soccer team showcased their dominance on the pitch and proved that in North America, we play soccer.
It was an exciting weekend for the U.S. men's soccer team as they won their second straight Nations League championship. The team secured their first win with a 3-0 victory over Mexico in a hard-fought match. After multiple confrontations between the two teams and 4 players receiving red cards, Mexico fans were seen throwing bottles onto the field and chanting homophobic slurs, forcing the match to be ended early. American captain and midfielder Christian Pulisic led his team with 2 scores in the victory and had these comments following the game.
To need to turn into all this mess with the red cards, and I thought we just let our, for the most part, we let our play speak for itself, but just a couple kind of mishaps and, focus and some things that are frustrating. But obviously we're really excited to be in the final.
Dangerous from Acuna.
To be honest, I tried to talk with the referee. It's very difficult to communicate with this crew today. It was very difficult, and it just felt like there was absolutely no control in the game. And it's not anything against them, and it's difficult. It's teams are 2 big rivals, a difficult game. But really, it was tough. It was tough for me. I felt like I wanted more control of what was going on, but I just, for whatever reason, it was a bit hectic all around.
And it's boiled over. No hesitation from the referee to produce the red. The question is to whom?
The U.S. men's team would carry this winning momentum as they took down Canada 2-0. By winning the Nations League Championship, the team will move on to the CONCACAF Gold Cup and continue their road to the 2026 World Cup.
Trophies. A trophy that has had only one name.
Also, Austin FC whooped Dallas Wednesday night 3-0, and 29-year-old rookie Wyndham Clark held on to a 1-stroke lead most of the way through the final round to win the U.S. Open golf tournament.
Like we said, a busy week in sports. Thanks, Ty.
It was a busy week for hot and severe weather too, unfortunately. That was last night in Austin. A wave of storms rolled over right around dusk, bringing high wind, heavy rain, and even hail. In fact, there was a severe thunderstorm watch from 6 to 11 p.m. last night. That wasn't the only dangerous weather we had this week.
Reporter Jacob Van Sant was part of our team covering the university's Juneteenth event on Monday afternoon, when it reached 105 degrees.
He's live in our weather center with more on that. Jacob?
That's right. With summer in full swing and temperatures rising, we talked to a couple folks about how they beat the heat. With temperatures expected to reach 105 degrees this week, I went to the river to see how people are handling the heat. I spoke to Jesse Daniel about coming to the park on such a hot day.
Yeah, the heat brings me to the park more often than not, It's a good way to cool off. But, yeah.
I also asked Jesse if the heat ever prevents him from getting outdoors.
I mean, I've lived here my whole life, so being around this river is like the best part of the summertime, But, I mean, there's sometimes that I don't want to go out as much because of the heat, but typically, being a Texan, I like it.
John Gonzalez, a Texas State safety officer, spoke about how his shift changes due to the weather.
Like at nighttime, it's a lot cooler, but during the day, it's a lot hotter.
Yeah. Do you change anything you do?
Just drink a lot of water. Yeah. Just drink plenty of fluids. I go cool off. I cool off with my car.
He also told us about a time he helped another worker with a heat-related illness.
There was a worker, student worker, and she was over here, and actually I was parked right here, and then I heard the call over the radio, so I was here already, so I went to locate the person. Once I located the person and somebody was fanning her out, I asked her if that was helping. She's like, no. So I went ahead and pulled my car, because my car's right there. Pulled my car up and got her in the car until the ambulance came. So I tried cooling her down, that's what we're here for.
So if you are spending time outdoors, be mindful of dehydration and other illnesses as a result of overheating. I really felt bad for Officer Gonzalez and the other workers outside. As you can see, we'll be back above 100 degrees all week. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Jacob. That's all for us this week.
Our last Bobcat Bulletin of the summer semester is next week. Hope you can join us.